All rise. The pod is now in session.
Yay.
What a blessing. We are back with another week of the Supreme Court Basketball Podcast with myself, one of your hosts, Henri, and the other gentlemen with me are...
Man, Big Bear, what's going on with people? What's up? Another jam-packed one about to happen.
Here we go. And rounding out the team, I'm Chris. We come to you every week as we can, as we see fit, and we talk about all things basketball and whatever else is going on in the world. Fellas, how y'all doing this week?
Oh, man, we straight. It's a late one, but we up in this thing.
Hey, what's going on with you, man? What you been up to?
Oh, man, bunch of nothing. Another day, loving on the family, watching basketball. It's funny because the weird thing for me is, I'll admit, you guys know how much I love basketball, but specifically this season, I had fallen off. Like, I just wasn't interested. There was nothing really keeping my attention, and I didn't think anything would. And that's across basketball in general. Huge Tar Heel fans. You guys will figure that out later on. But even that, I mean, they weren't doing great this season. The Lakers were doing okay, but I didn't feel like I needed to catch the games. But now that Luka's kind of come on board, even if it's just for curiosity, I find myself making sure I'm following the game, I'm watching the game, and I'm actually happy to have that back because I didn't have that for a minute. And to see what they're doing now, if you didn't know, they took second place in the conference now in the West of all places.
Second in the West.
That's wild. I didn't see that coming.
Yeah.
I mean,
I didn't see that coming at all.
Don't look now, but I won't say they're in firm command of the second as of yet. But they're in second for right now, which is that's a hell of an improvement from where they were. I didn't foresee them in this position maybe ever this season. I thought they were maybe if they were lucky. I thought that was about what their ceiling was this year. But like you, Chris, man, my love has been reignited. I mean, I'll be honest. Yeah. The Luka Doncic trade it's been fun. It's been fun to talk about. It's provided plenty.
It's must-see TV.
It really is. Right. And the NBA really, sometimes we get down on it as people who've watched it forever. And I think that happens. It kind of goes in cycles where it feels like that because I wasn't too amped for college basketball. And my team is doing well. The Duke Blue Devils, if y'all didn't know. Number one in the ACC. You know, we've been putting whoopings on cats. You know what I'm saying? But my Boston Celtics, even my Detroit Pistons. Yeah, performing pretty well this year, man. I got a lot to be excited about. So why was I so down about it earlier this season? I don't know what it was, but the Luka trade certainly did kind of reignite my passion, and it's just been fun. It's been great. I won't even say drama because normally the Lakers come with a lot of drama, but it's been great basketball, a lot of excitement, and rightly so.
Right. Well, I mean, for me, the drama was in the trade. You know, it was very emotional because, you know, we weren't, like you said, we weren't doing the greatest, but we were doing better. For this season, I was like, okay, there'll probably be no play-in for us, which is good because we don't want to kind of exert all that energy just to make the play-in and so on and so forth. But for me, it did reignite because I think that sometimes we can, be prisoners of the past, and especially because of our age. We've seen, the Lakers, we've seen, Showtime Lakers, we've seen the Bulls, we've seen the Pistons, we've seen, all these other teams, even, Spurs, the Shaq and Kobe era, the Spurs. So we've seen so much great basketball. I think that has been the thing because, it's obvious that basketball has kind of fallen off as far as just the energy and what we're used to seeing. So I think that the Lakers, the addition of Luka, and also, I mean, what's crazy is now that I'm thinking about it, I'm thinking about the Lakers, and I'm like, coming out the West, I'm not afraid of like OKC. You know what I mean? I'm not afraid as a Laker. If I was the Lakers, even defensively, it shocked me because I thought that we would fall off the cliff defensively, and that hasn't been the case. That's another shock.
That's the bigger surprise.
That is the bigger.
They have been playing team defense. Shout out to Jackson Hayes because I definitely didn't see that.
No,
and
not at all.
Being able to really feel that big man role, and you got to imagine for a younger guy to basically be like, hey, if only we had a big man, and you sitting right there in the building.
Like, what about me? Am I chopped liver? Yeah. That had to be a terrible feeling. He had to step out.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, he has been the rim running guy that Luka loves, and the type of prototypical big man that Luka wants to play with. And to be able to see that and to see him and LeBron playing off each other has been another thing. I mean, they've beat the Nuggets, Portland, the Mavs. That game was interesting when they came in And it wasn't the same because AD wasn't playing,
Yeah.
but you could see some great clips of him like looking at Jason Kidd, looking at his old GM
Yeah.
like, hey,
Yeah.
you did this.
Yeah.
I think there was one clip where they were like he tried to reach out and shake a hand. One of them, it was either J Kidd or the GM, and he just kind of ran off the court like, yeah, I'm good.
Yeah, he pulled the
You can
Jason
tell
Tatum
he's
on him.
like,
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
did you see did you see the clips of Nico? I mean, the looks on his face. I mean,
Oh,
when you
man.
seen, oh my God, I think Nico knows. Like,
That man's
you
career
know,
is in limbo.
Yeah.
oh
'Cause
man, it's
you
so life
will
support
not
at this
recover
point.
from that. If
Yeah.
Luka, can you imagine the Lakers pulling out a ring this year because of your trade
Yeah. You
and
pretty much
AD not
you,
getting healthy?
Well, the question is,
if that
would it
happens,
be
he's
just,
immediately in an unemployment line.
Wouldn't
Like,
it just
homie
be
ain't got a
Nico?
job in Dallas or
Excommunicado.
anywhere else after that. Like,
would,
if that happens,
let me-
yeah.
would they just be Nico, or would it be Nico and J Kidd? Because
think
J
just
Kidd
Nico.
was in support of it. I don't know, because J Kidd had to be in
Well,
support of it. I don't
but
think
remember,
because right.
Nico
Uh-huh.
came out and said, to be fair, this was my decision.
Mhm.
He simply supported once I told him. So he jumped in front of that train
Yeah.
all by himself
Oh yeah.
Oh, well, it's
and
time
yeah.
to
basically said, yeah.
okay, deal with it then. I
Yeah,
don't have no
so
remorse.
It's going
So
to be.
J
it's
Kidd won't
going
even
to
be he
interesting.
won't even be culpable in all of this if
Oh,
that
no.
does go the way we
No, no.
think
How
it might
does it
go.
feel
Yeah.
to know that like your NBA career as an exec is over? How does that like
Possibly.
you know it's
I don't want to.
I just
Yeah.
but
It's still
well
early.
okay, well let's how about this? We don't win the championship, but we go deep into the playoffs as is. With a
Luka
aging
gets in
LeBron.
shape and gets along with everybody, re-signs and is happy and motivated. That could be
And
because
then
in essence, what you said he couldn't do, he's doing
because at this
in a
point,
bigger market.
Yeah.
right. Because we haven't heard anything from the timeline for AD when he'll be back or anything like that. So that's not going to be, fare well for him. Then even moving in the next season, what it'll look like. I just think that when we sit back on this, he's going to be the laughing stock like Nico. He made the decision to give away a generational talent that truly hasn't fully hit his prime stride yet. And you gave him away.
Amen.
Box office. You listen, you come on now. When you know what? As just looking back on it now, when you just really look at it from an exploded view, there's no way as a GM that you ever make that trade.
Not for what they got.
Not
And
for
that's
what
not
they
a
got.
knock on
You
AD,
just
but
don't
to
make
know
that
what
trade.
he would command in an open market. Think about what they got for Rudy Gobert.
Yeah.
You can't tell me you couldn't have gotten and the fact that it didn't even take both first round picks is what blew me away.
Well,
That's the part where the Lakers are sitting here with a generational player. You had 2 first round picks available. Now, shout out to Max Christie because Max Christie is what I thought he would be.
Mm-hmm.
He got a new change of scenery. He's showing that hey, he can be that 3 and D guy that you need. Good for him. Like him as a player. Wish we didn't have to give him away. But even with AD, Max Christie, and a first rounder, you still feel like you underpaid because you still had another round, couple pick swaps. Like you had other things that you could have gotten. And for a player of that caliber, there's no way you would have got away with that. That was a friend deal. That was a friend deal.
That's exactly the problem, Chris.
Yep.
It was a friend deal when you had guys out there said, I didn't even get the opportunity to give you, a solid ransom for it. Right.
Yep.
And they would have done it without second guessing. And the fact that you didn't even give the opportunity to happen as an organization, as an owner, I'd be just off that alone. Like, listen, if we would have gave up Luka, at least the picks that we could have had, I mean, they would have had so many first round picks from here to like 2029 or something like that.
32.
It would have been so right. It would have been so ridiculous. Like at least we got fair compensation because out of that we could have. You think of what type of team you could possibly assemble over those first round draft picks. I mean, it looks bright. Because at the very least, salary cap, things like that, we can figure out a direction we're going to go. But they're tied to AD now to where we only have a small window because you're talking about, you have Kyrie there. So you have, he's aging. So we have to do something now sooner than later. And I understand that's what they wanted to do, but it hasn't panned out. It hasn't, man. I know J
It's
Kidd is like
unfortunate. I do feel bad for him because I
for the
think
homie deal though.
in his mind, the team that he was putting together, even that first half we saw with those other two bigs alongside him, that would have gave the West a problem. That would have
Yeah,
gave everybody a problem. But he
Yeah.
sat back, and now for all three of them to go out at the same time, you couldn't have drawn that up.
yeah.
You know what I mean? It'd be one thing if AD went out. Okay, cool. We still got it. But for all three of them to be out at the same time, yeah, that's tough. That's a hard one.
The only
I mean,
way for him to salvage this season and possibly save his job, he has to hope for the stars to align and the bottom to fall off of the Lakers and the
Yep.
Rockets somehow get healthy and surge. Are we talking about less than 25 games left in the season? That's just not likely. Considering that
No.
we don't even know when they're getting AD back.
No,
I'm not sure what the timeline is for
I
Gafford
haven't heard any
or
time
Lively
That's
either.
the whole
Like,
point.
hopefully it's
Right.
soon. I mean, that'll stop the hemorrhaging somewhat before you can get AD back, if you get him back this season. Like, he really has to hope for all of those things to happen to have a shot at having a job next year. And fans are certainly not going to forgive you for this move, and
no.
not for the foreseeable future either. Like, but
fans have
it has to
put him on
pay
the cross
dividends
already.
right now.
Yeah.
And the way it looks,
Well,
it's just not likely. And again, it was just a matter of just a string of bad luck after the
but
trade. You know what I mean?
the
Like,
only thing, I mean, sorry to be, but I just say this: the only thing is Phoenix isn't playing well. Because at this point, I think they're still in the play-in, but they're like the last spot in the play-in. But that's contingent upon
no, that's
AD
Dallas, believe it or not. They're
Right.
number 10 right now as it stands.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Phoenix is
But
11th. They're not
Phoenix-
even in the play. They're not even
Well,
in
if-
the play-in, homie.
No, but if Phoenix is playing better, Phoenix could get at they very easily could swap from 10 and 11.
No.
So that's what I'm saying.
They're 4 games behind Dallas at 11th, bro.
Right.
That's
That's because-
they got some
but no,
work to
that's-
do to climb out of 11.
Right. But I'm saying that's because they're playing
that
better.
price point, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Right.
With
Well, that's a whole
that much money going out the building.
And you won't even sniff the play-in. Like, that is the second chance for the playoffs, for lack of a better term. Like, and
I'm
you
gonna
can't
tell
make that.
you-
Nah.
Right, because it's so crazy because you see Lakers in the 2, you see Lakers at 2. We're not going to catch OKC, but I'm not afraid of OKC. I just like the way we're playing because who would have thought that, the style of play by subtraction of losing a big, and a defensive presence in the paint like AD. I think that when you think about that team, there were a few pieces that we needed in order to play like we're playing now. You probably needed about 2 strong pieces in order for us to change and play the dynamics of our offense be different. But with this right now, I mean, it's just so the flow that we're playing with and how everybody feels freed up and in addition to that, LeBron being freed up, I think that is the big thing. But I still think you still got to worry about, I'm not worried about Denver as much. I think the teams, if I'm worried about it, honestly, I'm going to tell you something. As great as OKC has been this year, I'd be more pressed to see a steaming, coming on like Memphis or Golden State before OKC. I think OKC, they got to a great start this season and they jumped out in front of everybody. They have the youth and everything, but I'm worried about more teams like Memphis and Golden State because that addition that Golden State has quietly too is one of the teams that have been in on a roll since they made that trade, for Butler. So,
yeah. I think the thing with OKC is that we keep looking at them and saying they've never gotten over the hump. They've been good for years now. I mean, this is the best they've been, but they're still young. They're not proven. And every time they get a chance to prove it thus far, they haven't been able to. Are they going to climb that mountain one day or get over that hump? For sure. But nobody believes it until you see it. To be honest, I'm not even worried about them with you. I'm more worried about, can we get consistent play out of people like Rui Hachimura? That's kind of where I'm a little concerned. Can we keep Vando on the floor? Right, because him and Hayes, because he's guarding everybody from the James Hardens to Steph Curry's, he's all over the place. So it's those types of guys. Can we keep our guys on the floor is probably a bigger concern, because even Denver hasn't been the same since they lost KCP, in my opinion. Right, they've made a couple of moves that have shown to not work out in their favor. So I'm more concerned is, can the Lakers tie up and shore up being consistent? Because yes, these games they're winning 8-2 in the last 10, You got 5-point victories when you had a 20-point
Right.
lead. You got
Mhm.
2-point. Those are the things that I get a little concerned about, especially from a coaching perspective. And to that point, shout out to the coaching staff, because one of the biggest critiques I had about Darvin Ham was the Lakers didn't have an identity. They did not, from week to week. It was the coaching staff didn't feel like they were in alignment with each other. The players were coming out and saying what they needed to do as if that was never discussed. They've gotten rid of some of that. They feel
Oh, yeah.
like a cohesive unit. They feel like they have a plan. They're executing. They're building on and getting more comfortable in it. But yeah, I that would probably be my bigger concern. Can they consistently get better and play more consistently on defense? Because they have had a couple of spurts where they're up 20, they're up 15, 16.
Yeah. Tonight
Even tonight, I think
Was
the
one-
Clippers
yeah.
went on like a 7, 9, 10-point run, and it's like, okay, those are the things that will break you eventually. So for me, watching them play, it just depends on how you want to look at it. You can either celebrate the fact that, yes, we had large leads, but in the end, we're tightening
pulled
it
it
up
out,
and we're
yeah.
winning, or that can be a concern where, look, some of those games, if you fall off 3, 4, 5 games, a game like a loss against Charlotte, that's how that happens. You're up a whole bunch of points, and then you fall off. If that becomes the pattern, you could easily back 4, 5, 6. But right now, they're playing in a way that I don't totally worry about that, but you always have to be mindful of it.
And you got to take into consideration that we're still figuring this thing out as we're doing it, and we're still winning. And
Yep.
we
That's a good sign.
you know what I mean. That's a great sign,
Yeah.
because part of this was dealing with LeBron James and seeing if he was ready to make the transition, and that's it. And because Luka at this stage in his career, as great as LeBron is as the passer, I'd have to say that Luka is he's more efficient at the passing and moving the ball and getting everybody into the flow, allowing LeBron James the back cuts and everything in the screens on the backside to happen. I just think that it's working so well, because now you have this freak of nature LeBron James being able to, run around.
Yeah.
That makes it hard for the defense.
Wrong,
Like, now I got this
sure.
right, and it creates a mismatch. I think that the opportunity for LeBron James to even further he's already 20 plus already, to play a good another 3 years at least. Because you have Luka now. You don't have to bring the ball up. You don't have to be the guy that stress off the ball.
He's 25.
25, dude.
Yeah. You can't beat that.
Let me ask you guys, and I know my answer. At this point, at this stage in the season, is JJ Redick Coach of the Year?
Ooh.
Because I'd say yes.
That wasn't on the docket for today, but that's a good question.
I don't know, but I just have to throw it out there, because you considering what the Lakers were the last couple of years and what he's doing now, not and their lack of experience as a coach on every level, to be doing what he's doing now with this team, giving us an identity, seeing the vision and knowing how to position people and put everybody in the best position possible to succeed. Man, listen, you come on now. Listen, the jury's still out, because we still have, a lot of more games to be played, but
about 20,
but he has to be in
24
the conversation.
Oh yeah. And
he has to be in the conversation. And one of the things that JJ did that I really liked was he went and got veteran coaches. When you think about when Luke Walton jumped on the scene, Luke Walton surrounded himself with people who were under his skill level. Yeah. It very much felt like, it was like, I just don't want anybody who can come in and outdo me. JJ went the complete opposite. You talk about Nate McMillan? We got Scott Brooks.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. They've all had success as head coaches.
And they've all had success as head coaches. So what better way to become a head coach than to rely on the experiences of those who have done it successfully? Because smart leaders realize, and it's not just basketball, it's life. Smart leaders realize, if you think about even like Jerry Buss, he understood, I don't have to be the smartest person in the room. I just got to hire them. Like, I just need to have those people in the room, because for all my acumen in terms of business and all of that, and that, my biggest strength is knowing who to put here and get out of the way, which a lot of programs have not benefited from. And even if you look at the Lakers now, one of the challenges they have is it's very homegrown in terms of the front office. It's very my friend's friend. or there's so many ties to where it's like, if it's not a personal relationship, it's not a business relationship. And I think that's hurt them in the past a lot. I think JJ, contrary to what we thought, I thought he'd be okay, but I think he's proven up to this point to be better than we could have expected. When you started hearing things like he reminds me of a young Pat Riley, I'm like, come on, let's not jump off
I
the
ain't say
let's not
all
jump
Really
off
putting
the building
extras on
that
it with
quick.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, but to his credit, he has been able to galvanize the guys around him. He's been able to get their buy-in. He's been able to make adjustments because, to your point, Bear, I had some of the same concerns because we were really playing well with AD. What was AD coming off of 42 and 23 and got
42
traded?
and 23.
Right.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
The
insane,
last game as a
right?
Laker.
I mean, we were literally looking at like, hey, this is falling into place. They're kind of on a roll. They're figuring it out. And you trade in the middle of that. That was a little bit wild. But for the coaching staff to be able to pivot and go, we go from an all defensive guy to a pure offensive guy who has great court vision, is young, is used to leading a team. But what I like about Luka more so that I think that I've seen he is a willing passer. He will get that ball out in front of him. He loves the rim runner. He will find the open guy, as much as he scores. He doesn't feel like somebody who is unwilling to share the ball. And I think they've all benefited from that because he draws so much attention. But keep in mind, now you've got a LeBron. Now you can get guys spotting up, hitting wide open shots. They become a better 3-point shooting team all of a sudden with basically the same roster. So,
yeah.
You're right. You're right.
yeah.
Getting open looks, like I said before, that'll definitely help that.
They're not standing around when before we had AD and we had LeBron. When LeBron gets the ball at the top of the key, everybody just standing around. It's not that issue. People are moving. I mean, the offense, the rotation, and that's what to see movement instead of just standing around and watching LeBron dribble the ball. And like you said, defense now, because you're focusing on Luka and LeBron James. The Gazelle is just running around wild trying to pick his spots. That is hard for a defense. And there's what I've seen so far, there is a bit of unselfishness going around that if the guy has the hot hand, like, we're going to go with it. It's about the victory. And I think that's the whole thing.
Reeves, of those guys. And it's like, hey, we're going to ride that too.
And I think you have to have it. I think that we've been so centric on LeBron and AD for, these seasons that a lot of guys kind of know, like, well, I can't do what I want to do, or or feel like they can't, do what's necessary, or if they feeling it, or, more hesitant. Now it's like the offense is, if the guy has the shot, you take it. Like, it's about the team victory. And I think that was the whole idea with like Golden State, even though what guys are going to get it. But if you one of those guys that it's your night tonight, we going to feed you. And that's what I'm liking. I'm liking everything that I'm seeing. Of course, defensively, we still have to get better because the playoffs is a whole nother animal. But
when the game
get in the
slows
second
down
spot, right? Because, like you said, I am not worried about OKC about it. I just think they're not battle tested, and they don't scare me. If any, the only team that truly, like, I wouldn't say scares me, but it's, pause for cause, would be like a Boston or, Cleveland. Those two teams. Or Golden State.
We watched Cleveland.
Yeah, we got to see them. Yeah, live. Yeah. That was
that's great. And Boston is looking like championship form at this point. They're looking.
We've been looking great. I've been very pleased with this.
Right.
Yeah.
But so just think about that. When's the last time the Lakers and the Celtics played and we just felt like that energy there? I think that even with. Right? Oh, no. I mean, they play Thursday?
The league will want nothing more than a Boston Lakers finals.
And these two Boston Lakers teams, with the star power, you most certainly want that. But about the Lakers, man, the one thing that I've been surprised by, I did not expect this effect. Their defense has looked better. They're more involved. There's more effort.
And it's by committee.
It is by committee, but also my only concern and my only the one caveat to that could be, and I hope I'm wrong, for the Lakers' sake, is this just the honeymoon period?
Just new energy because of a new player.
Right, because that's what it's looked like. It's just energy. It's not necessarily a defensive scheme. It's just they've been playing better team defense. And they put in more effort, chasing guys off the line, like shifting and moving. Like I've seen, like, earlier in the season, it just wasn't the same. You can see the effort. There's an uptick in effort, no doubt. And you can see it clearly in energy that we didn't see before. So I'm wondering, is this just the excitement of having Luka in a honeymoon period, and will it wear off? Can they keep this up? Because if they can, in the interim, I mean, Jackson Hayes he's okay.
Yeah.
You can ride it out with him. I'm not sure how far that gets you in the playoffs, but right now, they can close out the season pretty strong. Again, you're already holding on to number 2. So right now, they look pretty good. If the playoffs were to start today they'd be matched up with what? Well, actually, it would be, because you're looking at the Warriors. If the Warriors stay
that's the problem.
But they probably wouldn't stay at 7. Who knows what would happen from 6 to 10? That's the only problem. The whole play-in thing makes things even more tricky, because in seasons past, I would have been able to go 2-7. That would have been their matchup. But who knows how it'll shake out at season's end. That's my issue with the play-in. But yeah, man, the Lakers and their defense has looked impressive. I did not expect that effect to happen from the Luka Doncic trade.
I'm just worried about if who we get in the playoffs, because we saw it against the Hornets. You saw towards the end of that game, he got blown by so badly. Like, that is where we're going to have our issues with.
Well, that rear its ugly head is what I'm trying to figure out. Like, will that happen at some point?
Well, I don't, like I said.
Will LeBron go back to 40-year-old LeBron, who kind of I won't say gives up, but he intentionally does not overexert himself on defense to conserve himself for offense. At least maybe that's what it's looked like for a number of years now. We could be wrong about that. Maybe we're being overly critical of LeBron and his, I won't say lack of defense, but his definite
I think it's a concerted effort, though. I think that has been the evolution of his game, because he's understood that in the past, he doesn't have enough talent around him. So if he goes out, it's a wrap.
Yeah.
I think what's a little different, even the Warriors, when you think about the Warriors, what used to kill us was we didn't have any wing defenders. You look at what Dorian Finney-Smith has done. You look at what Vanderbilt has done. You now have guys who are a little easier to switch, which has been a huge help for us, right? We've come out with Vanderbilt guarding Steph Curry. We've come out with Vanderbilt on James Harden. So I think there's a difference in just the level of defenders we have. We actually have a 3-and-D guy or 2, depending on how you look at Rui. And sometimes he can get blown by, but Dorian Finney-Smith has been a nice addition to the team, because he can hit an open shot and he is running around out there. The one thing I'll say about defense, just from a coaching perspective, is defense is normally the most contagious thing that can happen, right? Because you can move the ball in the late. Yes, you can hit wide open shots, but if it's not your night, it's not your night. Defense is more about effort, and what you see is an uptick in concerted effort. So when you see that it works, it's kind of hard to go back. You'll have a fall off game. You'll have it's the second night of a back-to-back, long flight across country. I think we'll see that eventually. But in terms of, it's hard to see a recipe for success to take you from 6th or 7th or 5th to now 2nd, and then to go, we're going to drop off from that. The only thing I think changes that is health. And then when you get in the playoffs, because now you're locked into a team. If you get a bad matchup, there's bad matchups for everybody. Mm-hmm. If you get the wrong matchup, and where Luka against Ja, that's going to be a problem.
Oh, every time.
Right? Because you've got an explosiveness. He's got so many guys around him who can deliver, and they play defense, and they're fast consistently. Like, the Lakers can go on stretches now where they've had to pick up the pace, but that's not what they would want to do every time down, where if you get a Memphis, you're running. And that would be a hard matchup, especially early in the playoffs, because even if you get by them like you have in the past, what happened? You got worn out. And so whoever you're playing next is like, they're on tired legs.
But that's why I think that for LeBron, it's going to work out, because LeBron James, I believe he's kind of conserving himself, because he doesn't have to be that point guy on the offensive side. And I think that's going to help it. I believe he does at this stage of his career. I actually think
he's settling into being a number 2 and realizing that, hey, this is extending my career. And just to have that basketball IQ to realize that by being a number 2, I get another shot at it, and accepting that, like he said, hey, he's a quarterback, I'm a wide receiver, let's do it.
But realistically, he hasn't even been the number 2 statistically. I mean, LeBron has been almost 30 points a game since Luka in the last 10 games. Yeah, like Luka's.
It's all about the feeling.
Yeah, Luka's scoring has taken a hit, if you wanted to call it. I mean, in terms of stats, right?
Completely.
Like
Yeah,
LeBron's numbers would suggest that he's still the leader of that team. If you're looking at the stats,
absolutely.
he's about last 10 games, but 29.2, 10.7 rebounds.
Yep.
His
Oh,
assist numbers have
ridiculous.
dropped, but that's to be expected when you got a guy like Luka on the ball. But
Right.
other than that, I mean, I don't think he's had to embrace being number 2 yet. I mean, we'll have to worry about how that
That's a
looks
good
when we
point. Yeah.
finally get there. But we aren't even there yet. To be
I think
honest
it's
with you.
all in dialect, right? Because part of the challenge when you talk about two alphas is can you accept and that's the difference I think with LeBron in general. His basketball IQ is so high, he understands that I'm never really a two in anything, right? Until I can't get up and down the floor, but you guys want to crown him the future of the Lakers and everything, but that's fine because all he's done is made my life easier. I think LeBron openly accepts that.
Yeah,
It's when it gets tough. Let's see what happens when you get on a 2-3 game losing streak and let's say Luka took a shot when LeBron's used to having that shot. That's when I think you can get into then, okay, hold on, where are we at?
right.
But the one thing we've learned, regardless of what sport you're playing, winning cures everything. Whether it's a 2-point win,
No
a 20-point
doubt.
win, right now, you just riding it.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
there have been a ton of takeaways. One of which I mean, I know it was a homestand, so I don't know how much you want to put into it. The Lakers on a second of back-to-back games, right?
Yeah.
LeBron has looked impressive. I mean, again, I don't want to get
Yeah.
caught up. I don't want to be a prisoner.
Even though
of
he
recency.
complained about it before
He complained about it, but I mean,
yeah,
we saw him
Yeah.
perform 21 and 31,
Right.
Yeah.
21 against Minnesota, 31 against the Clippers on Friday night. So we've seen him perform well on a second of back-to-back. So
Yeah.
my question is, how does that translate on a road stretch? Ooh, pardon my mic. How does that translate to a road stretch? Can they do it? That'll be the real test in their ability to play the second of back-to-backs.
I think that's going to be, that's going to be an issue if they don't understand defensively. We got to kind of hold the line, like when we're up in those teams and because that's the issue that I see with LeBron. Those back to backs on the road, I have an issue because we're up offensively, up so high, and then we drop down, and he has to continue to play at a certain level to kind of secure the game. If
Late
we
in the
can
fourth. Yeah.
lay it in the fourth, if we can
that's a
take
problem.
that out where we can sit him in the fourth, half the fourth or something, like to start the fourth quarter and let him come in at the last, let's say, 5 minutes or something. They have to figure something out. That is the thing. Can we stay great defensively? Not just in spurts, like team wise, but can we do it consistently to keep, when we see those runs happening, to kind of slow the runs down and keep it at least. I mean, because you'd be up 15 points and now it's a 7-point game. Like, nah.
Yeah.
Now
Or
LeBron
a 2-point
James,
game.
right? 2-point game. Now we got to kind of check, he has to check
Yeah.
back in, and here we go. So I think it's contingent upon the defense. But I think that what LeBron James may have not really, what he didn't think about was the load, and I think it's it's part physical, but it's part mental too, of him not bringing the ball up and being able to play freely. Kind of, gives him more life, gives him like an energy that I don't think he was expecting, because he's been a one, and I think he's been looking for this for the whole time, even with AD there. Like, I've been waiting for you to be the guy,
I was just
so I
about
can
to
play
say
the
that,
back
man.
role.
You are,
And I think that now
Yeah.
it's not just a physical thing. There's a mental relief that's the component to this thing.
Yeah, you're
And I
right.
think that, and he's playing like it. I mean, LeBron's playing like, he's so energetic. Remember before we had this 8-game trip, right? These back-to-backs. He got on, of course, he got up on social media and everything, even, through all the media outlets, and was just complaining about, what did he say? Like, 8 games, how many days back-to-back? Sheesh. Like, come on now.
Yeah.
He did all that. And that's because previously he knew what type of player he would have to be night in and night out to win that. And it's going to be, everything is, be contingent upon his passing, about, his defense, all that stuff. That's not it. You took a major load off without him having to disperse the ball, because I think too, he's confident in Luka. You know what I mean? He's confident that Luka's going to make the right play, make the right decision, the better pass, things like that. And it's contagious, like you said. Defensively and offensively, I think the energy is flowing. And that's because we play a different style of offense. We don't have a big man where we're trying to feed it into and watch around and move off the screen based off of the inbounds pass or the inbound pass to AD and watch him work. I think that the ball movement is always going to be better, which allows LeBron James to play freer, which also allows him to not feel the stress of that. So, I mean,
I think that's the difference. The
and you
difference
can
is the
see it.
fact that AD was a big, as much as he wanted to play guard or play out sometimes, but
I'm a
AD
5.
could not do what LeBron did in terms of setting up the offense, getting other guys open, facilitating. Great passer out of the post, right? He'd find the open man, he'd find cutters, but you'd have to get in the half court set for that to happen. You're not going to have AD
It's a
running
slowdown. Correct.
court to court. Yeah, full length of the court, like, facilitating all of this. Luka does it, but the other thing Luka does is they are getting easy baskets very early.
Yeah.
Right? Luka will get a rebound, turn, and just launch it. And it's a dunk. It's an easy layup.
Right.
So when you can get baskets early and often, it does a couple things. One, you engage a guy like Jackson Hayes, so his energy is high. That automatically translates to defense, right? Because if you do your work, you're going to get the ball back. That's probably a bigger component than we've talked about in terms of just their overall defense. They all know, hey, somebody's getting the ball. With LeBron and AD, it was very much a which one of you guys is getting the ball. And then you throw in a little bit of Austin Reeves. Even Austin Reeves has come along because he's had to. But now with playing with so many free-flowing guys where it's like, look, it doesn't matter. We just need to get it going. That challenge of keeping the defense is where I think they're going to, still have to lock in. But I mean, the fact that they've basically played the Clippers twice, right? Ran them over. This last game was a little closer than we thought, but even that got me to thinking. There was a moment there for a minute. I thought the Clippers were going to, for lack of a better term, clip the Lakers in terms of their front office, new arena. They had key players. They were able, even in their trades, you get a Norman Powell. Like the Clippers have made so many moves over the last couple of years to where you started to see an uptick. And even in what I do, the Clippers, in terms of the impact on the community itself, the LA community, the Clippers are out in the community way more than the Lakers from what I've seen personally.
Mm-hmm.
So we are Lakers fans because it's what we grew up with. But the 9-year-old, the 10-year-old, the 12-year-old, I could totally see them being more into the Clippers because that's who is at their local park promoting. That's who's at the Gardena Jazz Festival with Clipper basketballs. That's who's donating courts and doing in a way that the Lakers, to me, haven't embraced. The Clippers have a whole street team. They work with small businesses. So what I saw from the Clippers, I was like, yeah, I could see in 15 years people having that kind of reverence and nostalgia for what the Clippers were doing. But as we sit here now, you've gotten rid of Paul George.
Yeah.
Kawhi Leonard.
It has not been a success. That has not been a success. Yeah.
I mean, I wonder if you were sitting at his house right now and y'all had a couple drinks, if you asked him, hey, if you could go back to that 4th of July, would you have jumped to purple and gold, seeing how it played out? If you knew it would be this way, would you have made that move?
But would it have mattered?
Just think about what they would have had by now.
Yeah, that's my only problem.
You know what I mean?
But would it have mattered given his injury history as of late? You know what I mean? Like,
would he have been injured as much with
there's a possibility he wouldn't be.
Guys, right?
Yeah.
So I'm just wondering, what do you guys ever think we are going to see the Clippers on top?
Hey, look, short answer, no. Long answer, hell no. And this is the thing about it, because I was thinking about when you were talking about like their community, their presence in the community and their outreach, they far overshadowed the Lakers in that department. Like for years.
It's not even close.
You can't go to most parks in the city of LA proper or LA County, even out in the IE, in the greater LA area. Yep. You cannot find many parks with a basketball court without a sticker endorsement on it, a Clipper endorsement, a Clipper sticker. Letting you know that this court was dedicated by the Clippers and they donated to either repair that court or to have it installed at the park. With that being said, though, the thing about it is, again, I touched on my history as a fan of the Celtics and the Pistons.
Yep.
As an LA native, for me to go way out of my market to find those two teams was because there was no other option and there was not another no other realistic.
I mean, there
and
was the right
sensible.
option.
I mean, there was the Lakers, obviously, but if you didn't like the Lakers, you didn't have a real feasible option at that time locally.
Yeah.
So I didn't have anything else. I didn't want to go up, up the coast to the Warriors. They weren't doing much. The Kings were pretty much as bad as the Clippers, if not worse, through most of my life, up until Chris Webber and that Stojakovic team and Mike Bibby and all those dudes. They hadn't made much noise.
Doug Christie,
Golden State only had Run
Pollard.
TMC for that short time. There wasn't much going on in terms of like basketball locally in the state of California. So I had to find a team. One of the teams that competed against the Lakers, because I was kind of I had to be going against the grain. I had to piss against the wind. So the teams that had success against the Lakers became my teams, right? The Celtics, the Pistons, hard-nosed teams that, they weren't Hollywood. They weren't celebrities at the game.
A punch. Yes.
For the most part, yeah. You didn't see celebs at the game as much. They didn't highlight that. They were hard-nosed, hard-hat, blue-collar team.
Premiere.
It wasn't pretty. And that's kind of who, I'm not with the finesse necessarily. It ain't got to be pretty. I don't need all of that, right? But the Clippers should have been a viable option for me as somebody in this market. I had to go outside in the Eastern Conference to find my teams because I had nothing out here. Because the Clippers, from all my life, and never have they in their franchise history ever done anything more than a Western Conference final.
Yeah.
And that was only making an appearance in it. That is the pinnacle of their success as a franchise. Think about this, y'all. Yeah. Any retired players? Any retired numbers? Guys in the Hall of Fame, Clippers?
Lawler.
Have they sent anybody?
They hung his microphone up in the state.
Ralph Lawler, right?
Right.
It is the lone, no jerseys hanging up, no championships. I mean, when you have to even ponder the thought of hanging up a division championship, even that thought to me is like anywhere else that's not even a conversation worth entertaining. But the Clippers at one point had to really entertain the thought of we need something. And when they were at the Crypto, formerly the Staples Center, well, it's still a Staples. To me, it's always the Staples Center. Let me knock that off. Let me stop that.
Yeah.
They toyed with the idea of hanging up a division championship just to have some hardware in that arena because their presence was pretty much like it was non-existent. Yeah. They were being overshadowed by the Lakers for good reason, but the Clippers have been, it's an interesting one because I really cannot, you could say, Reed, you're a contrarian. You went way to the Celtics to become a fan of them because you had the Lakers so much. You had to be such a contrarian. It does not make sense for you to be a Clipper fan in my eyes. I've always seen Clipper fans don't make sense to me because any other team, there's that old adage, there's always next year. The Clippers don't have that. There is no history to speak of. Everybody has some players, some retired jerseys, some players in the Hall of Fame. Who have they sent to the Hall of Fame?
They have history now. Let's not say that.
They don't have history. I mean, history of losing.
Historical history of mismanagement of the organization. That is historical.
But
that's
history nonetheless.
They've had infamy. They've had notoriety for all the wrong reasons. They haven't had any. They haven't had any real success. Again, Western Conference Finals appearance, not a win. Yeah. Had they made the finals, that would have been hey, man, I'd be waiting for the sky to crack open and for the lawyer to come down and make his judgment because, it's got to be the end at that point. But yeah, the Clippers are a team that's so frustrating, even as a fan, somebody who is not a fan of that team for the reasons I've stated, because you watch them yo-yo up and down the last 10, 15 years where they've seemingly had they got into these strides and they had a moment. They were connecting with the fans. They were exciting. It was fun. They were rebranding. They were looking fresh. They were the new kid on the block. They were the cool kid. And we see that precipitous fall from grace. Then there's a rise again. You get Kawhi, you get Paul George, and it looks promising. We're getting a new arena. We got an owner who's passionate about the game and passionate about this team. And this is a passion project for him, right? He's willing to pour in all his money. He's probably the richest owner in NBA, right? By a country mile, right? He has endless resources of which to better his team. And it's all resulted in being, I won't say back at square one, because square one was, sports arena. They've gotten a whole lot better than that. But it has not resulted in anything meaningful in all of these years. Yeah. All the different transitions and changes the ups and downs, and the Clippers are still kind of a cellar dweller. And
You went and
that's
got your own brand new stadium,
a brand new
state of the art,
stadium. Man, top
and
notch.
you punted on one of your players, and I don't know. I agree. I don't know that we'll ever see it. For everything that they were on the move for, the uptick, and even bringing Harden back, and that's kind of working out for them and everything. It's just there's something about it that just does not. Man,
Gotta
if
be
it
the
was
ghost.
me,
Yeah.
we'd be in Seattle. We'd be somewhere. We would do a complete over. If I was the owner of that team, well, you can't now because you got the whole stadium. But man, if I was the owner of that team, I would have gutted. You talk about a divine design. We would have took that thing down to the studs.
Mhm.
So, well,
New
think
name,
about it like,
just
well,
do everything because why not?
They're the one team that
I-
makes me believe in curses. And I normally don't believe in that in
Yes,
sports. I don't
for
believe in
sure.
bad luck and curses. They are
Yeah,
the
yeah,
one
yeah.
team. Listen. We've seen a string of unexplainable stuff happen to teams like the Boston Red Sox over the years, and them
Yeah.
getting close and being thwarted by some weird bad luck, some bad string of bad luck, some bad roll of the dice.
Yeah.
The Clippers have never, if not for bad luck, they'd have none at all. When you think about even in recent years, like what they gave up to get Paul George, you whiff on a Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who's most likely going to be the MVP this year. Clearly one of the better players in the league. I mean, they just even their progress, even the wins have come with more losses. It really is a 2 steps forward, 2 steps back. And they really do make me believe in curses for a team. I'm not sure if it's the Donald Sterling effect and what that presence still lingers in that organization. I mean, like you said, Chris, we've discussed this a million times. I firmly believe, this might sound crazy, or maybe it won't. Maybe it's perfectly sensible. I think the only way the Clippers can ever have real success, well, when they had the chance to, was to leave the city and completely rebrand.
Yeah. Yeah.
Seattle would have been a great landing. I mean, what?
Oh my God.
Come on, he's from the Seattle area. He's a Microsoft exec.
Even if it was bringing back the Supersonics, just that fan base alone
oh my goodness,
would have revitalized.
That's what I want.
Sonics
That's what I'm
back in the
waiting
league.
on. I'm waiting for somebody to bring the Seattle Supersonics back. I'm waiting for that franchise to
that franchise is too storied in what they did with GP and Kemp to not be on the face of the basketball scene.
And one last point I got to say, because this is another thing that I've shouted down so-called Clippers fans. In every single iteration of that team, since the Braves, they've done nothing. Whether it be in Buffalo, San Diego, LA, I don't know where they can go.
I'm gonna say this.
They just should have went and became the Seattle Supersonics. That probably would have been a solution to all of this nonsense, man.
I'm gonna say this as a lifelong Laker fan and living in Los Angeles. For those that don't live in Los Angeles, the Clippers always felt like an ABA team living and being in Los Angeles. When you think about the sports arena, see a lot of you guys
second rate.
That was so second rate. Like, okay, USC playing there. Besides that, like to actually go, and the only reason they were tapped in with the community giving out so many tickets because nobody was buying the tickets. So what do? You give them away for free to all these boys and girls groups and different things, charity outreach. They were doing all that. That's the only reason
they had to be invested in the community, right?
Yeah, that's
nobody,
true.
Right? You think about it, and to be honest with you, they had a few guys that people actually liked, but it was so grossly mismanaged as an organization for so long that when you look at it now, you see Ballmer trying his best. But I think, like I said, even if you just would have changed the name, I think even in the name, it has to go.
Name and color scheme.
But see,
we got away from the red, white, and blue too.
I would have got away from all of that and got a new name. And let's be honest. I was kind of upset that you went to Inglewood because I know what you're trying to capture, but that ain't gonna work because that's where the lake. For you guys once again that don't understand that their arena is down the street from the old
right
Lakers
across,
Great
pretty
Western
much.
Forum.
Yeah, pretty much
it's
right. Yeah,
right there.
Pretty much,
you can walk to it from one want to read it to the next.
Yeah,
That's
Right.
always
Some
going to be
nostalgia dust in
it's
your
not
organization.
not going to work, not going to work, can't work. And that's the
Yeah.
sad part about it. You know, I haven't been there yet. I heard it's a beautiful arena, like so state of the art. I get that.
We may be there soon. We may be able to give you a report pretty soon. So we'll see.
None of that washes away the filth that is the historic, you know, blunder of an organization, which is the Clippers. And that's why it's like, it's so bad. I don't think you guys understand, like, the one highlight that they had was Brent Barry winning the slam dunk contest. Like,
you
and
might
that
be
was right.
And
that
Blake
was
Griffin too. Yeah. They've had a couple
Blake
players win.
Griffin, but those, right. But they had a few players that people like, but on a whole, like as a team, I could care less about the Clippers. This is Laker. You know what? I don't understand how we have Clipper fans in Los Angeles.
That's
for the life of
Robert.
me. I don't understand it for the life of me. When you have Lakers here, when you have the Lakers, like why? And the only thing I can think of, like, listen, I can respect you that
and I know a
going
couple
against the
of
grain, right?
Yeah,
I
there
do.
are some,
but
they live
but
among
I can
us.
respect that you went against the grain and you said, "No, I can't do us like that and go, you know, and root for the Clippers. I'm going to go totally outside of the state."
Bear.
The fact that you know what I mean. I can
Boston is
that.
against the grain, but the Clippers, oddly enough, to me, are more against the grain.
It's like,
that's just you ain't even because to me, this is my estimation of Clipper fans, if you want to call them that in the Southland. You're not a Clipper fan as much as you are a Laker hater, and I hate the Lakers too. But pick a winner if you're gonna hate the Lakers. Pick somebody who's completely diametrically opposed to them in terms of sports, but has some success. Listen, a team. Listen, we've had our time in Boston. We had a nice little drought. I want to say 20 something year drought until 2008 when we finally won the championship, right? And against the Lakers. So you can't imagine how glorious that felt. And hell, that game 6 ran them off the court. Man, I hated to see Kobe go out like that, but it had to be done. But we went through a drought. The Pistons have gone through droughts. And to me, as a fan, that's kind of character building as a fan. But there is something to look forward to at some point. You know, at some point they'll get it right.
Yeah.
And they'll turn it around and be in a position where they'll at least be contenders. The Clippers, it's been just false hope. You got to love Steve Ballmer again. He's passionate. He loves what he does. He has the resources and he has the deep pockets for it.
That he's changed
but unfortunately,
way less
right. But this ain't baseball. And listen, we do have a salary cap, so you can't go out and buy it the same way you do in the MLB.
I think
so for all the money he has, it don't even matter.
Anybody this last year when he had to let Paul George go.
See what I mean?
I think if he's going to do something, and this may work, is he's going to have to really do a full reset and really have the right people in office and build this thing for over a 5-6 year period of just really. That's the only option I think because it hasn't worked dealing with pulling resources from guys that already been in the league, that already had maybe superstar status or all-star status, because it seems like when they come to the Clippers, you're getting them. I mean, think about it. The James Harden I would have liked to see be a Clipper is not the James Harden they have. Still a great all-star player.
Yep.
Just not that James Harden
future Hall of
that
Famer,
we
no
thought.
doubt.
No. Oh, yeah. And, of course, Kawhi Leonard, I mean, he's been suspect. We talk about AD street clothes. Goodness gracious. Like, this dude, I mean, come on now.
And think about what you gave up to get Paul George, only to turn around and watch him walk out the door.
Wow.
Right out the door.
For nothing in return.
As Shea is balling. Having the
MVP caliber season, arguably the best player in the league right now.
Got it this year personally.
He's got to have it.
But see, that's not having the right person in office to see. He wanted Ballmer. I think he wanted success so quickly that he couldn't fathom the idea that, like, hold on, let's slow down. I'm telling you, this will be better. Well,
as soon as they get a team, they got to win that first year. They want to come out the gates. And here's the irony of that, Bear. Everybody is chasing the legacy of Dr. Buff. Bought the team, got the ring, and everybody's looking to be and do, but everybody can't. And that's just the reality of it. But it don't stop them from trying. You look at how much money is being poured into Phoenix, and they're not in the playoffs. With probably, arguably the highest, if not one of the top,
payrolls in the league.
Right.
In terms of payroll,
Can you imagine them not even making the play-in? Oh, man. Listen.
Right now, they're facing that. As we speak.
If I'm the GM, I'm blowing that team up. I don't care. I'm good. after this season, listen, everybody's they're on the market. I'm going to get maximum for everybody. We're going to we're going to build this from the ground up. And I think, you have to, sometimes things get stale. And
like Shannon Sharp, Juju Beans, Juju on that beat, Juju Watkins, Lakers at 5.
Yeah. It don't even matter.
I just, when you see it and you see the teams that are doing well, they're progressing, they did it the right way, and it wasn't necessarily with the big names. You see, as of late, all the big names that have, for the exception of the Lakers, and in particular KD, everything that since the Golden State, that beautiful run they had,
and they tried to bring him back, and the man said no,
because he's so. What's so crazy? He's so worried about what the noise would be about him going to Golden State, even though this would be this wouldn't be the same like last time. The narrative would be totally different for him if he'd go to Golden
mediocrity State. Before I go back and run it back.
Wow.
All because you were worried about the noise, and all they were going to say is, yes, you were needed. They weren't doing well. You helped Steph Curry prolong his career. You were going to win the MVP, because I think with that team, they may have, well, you know what? Yeah, because you still have Draymond to keep it in line. They may have squeaked one out, or they would have most certainly been a top contender.
Yeah.
But, I will say this, the old guys, when they add about the Clippers, when I think about us being young and going, getting them free tickets, going to the Clippers, the sports center, the sports arena.
Sports arena, yeah.
I can look at it now, and it felt like I was in a, 70s wearing afros and Converse, one-star Converse game. It had that feel, because
like a dated type of feel. Yeah.
It was dated then. That's how bad it was. It was dated. The lighting was poor. I mean, when they hadn't, up until that point, them guys wouldn't get anything. Their GM may have been the most, if you think about it, like the most famous player in the building at the time, because he's a Laker great. Because who remembers Benoit Benjamin, Loie Vaught? We do, because we're in LA, right. But all those guys, you know what I mean? So
Eric Piakowski.
Yeah. Danny Manning. Ron Harper was probably my favorite player of all time.
And the last, the Candy Man, Oliver Candy.
They had some guys, but
you know what was funny? Here's to put it in perspective, and this will put a wrap on it for both of you guys. When we went to the Clipper games as youngsters, the highlight was the trip to Sizzler before the Clipper game.
Yes, it was.
Until our hearts content and our bellies were overfull, laughing to the point where we're just throwing up because we so full.
Literally looked forward to some cheese bread more than
watching the Clippers. Yeah,
and some Malibu chicken.
At the most, you had to look forward to at the game itself was you hope you got tickets to a game where they had an opponent you wanted to see, a superstar player.
Right.
The Bulls,
you know what I mean? We would. Yeah. I hate getting tickets to games where playing against the Nuggets back when they got Robert Pack and George Mirasan and Washington and just complete nobodies you didn't even want to see. But hey, listen, Steve Ballmer, if you're listening anywhere out there in the universe, I commend you for the job you have done with this team.
Absolutely.
I can't do nothing but give you. But listen, I got to praise you and give you your props for all that you've done. But I will say this: it is not too late to change the name and the branding. You can't move. At least change the name and the branding. Get some new colors. It's not too late for that. Like, I know you want to be mindful of the fans and how much they paid for Clipper merchandise. They can buy new jerseys, Playboy. It ain't gonna kill them. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, for sure.
You can call them anything. The beaches, it don't matter. It can't be the
waves.
It's
something.
Right. Right. Hey, there you go. The breeze or something. It has to be something.
It ain't got to be intimidating. Just be a name. You know what I'm saying?
The Clipper name comes with failure, and I think
the Clippers have been so far a little breath of wind in their entire history. So
stinking wind.
Wow, that's crazy.
Right.
Well, another good one. Before we wrap, I had to say something because we just lost Angie Stone, and that was weighing heavy on me, man. I saw that. And it took me down a rabbit hole because it's the same way I lost my grandmother, ironically, in Alabama.
Right.
But it's tough when you just lose people. And unfortunately, we always find out so much more about the history of folks once they go,
Yeah.
and we don't celebrate them. So I want to tell her, hey, rest in heaven.
Yeah.
You changed the landscape of music for a lot of us. I remember the first time I heard Black Brother, and I was just like, that is those words of affirmation coming from a Black woman really meant something, because you don't hear a lot of that.
And
It's always
encouragement,
about getting a
uplifting.
leg up.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's always about getting a leg up, because they're gonna do it to you, so do it to them first. But that song, I remember when it came out, and it was just even when she shouted out guys behind bars, I was like, that's the type of music, and that's the type of women, in terms of just, especially when it comes to our own women, in terms of Black women, that those are the type of people who keep brothers like us going. You know what I mean? Strong Black women who admire, who want to respect and protect. And I just remember some of her music, just her influence in neo soul, and just bringing that about. And to lose somebody like that, from leaving a show to going to go to, perform at a basketball game, and now to be gone. Prayers up for her family, any other fans who just loved her music.
Yeah.
But yeah, I had to mention that before we get out of here, guys. Anything you want to say?
Yeah, it was worth mentioning. That was a pretty big loss to the culture and music, and,
right?
True.
Especially guys like you, Chris. Chris is a big R&B fan. For those of you who don't know, we all appreciate it, but probably Chris more than most of us, or the both of us.
Yeah.
But I mean, that was again, she was kind of the architect, or one of the four mothers, neo soul, as well as, like I mentioned earlier, we talked about it. Her time with the group Sequence. She was one of the first female MCs in hip hop. Little do y'all know.
Yeah.
Do your research on that. Do your Googles.
Actually, helped write Rapper's Delight. There's a lot
of people know. Yeah, she's got it. She's got a very colored history in music in her career. So that is a big loss. And again, man, our thoughts and prayers are with the friends and family of Angie Stone. It's certainly a legend.
Just lovers of good music too, man.
Condolences to the family. And like you said, I just have my own memory of, coming in, being 21 with a family, and, I love R&B, and listening to, the emergence of, neo soul and that whole movement, and her song, they said, brother, that's everything. She brought like her soulful voice was very, it was like retro. It took you back. It took you back to that 60s, then that 70s soul.
You could smell an incense when she sang.
Yeah, she was more like your auntie. It didn't seem put on or contrived, like she was trying to be deep. She wasn't head rappy. She was just your auntie, really keeping it real with you and singing it, giving you some soulful ballads. It's hard to find artists who are really, really genuine in who they are. And it comes across sometimes. But she was very genuine, and that did resonate with fans, most certainly.
Yeah.
My sunshine has come.
And I guess with that, you got anything else, Robert, you wanted to talk about?
No,
latest adventures, anything going on?
No latest adventures as of yet, but we've planned on creating some. That's a thing.
Stay tuned.
That's kind of been
follow.
Been weighing heavy. As they come, they stick with us for this ride. It's going to be a good one.
Okay.
I think that you guys are going to be, when you look back on this, it's going to be somewhat of history. I mean, this is something that has been a long time coming with us, and we just love that the energy, how it's flowing, and I just really appreciate everybody for tuning in and for, sticking, staying around for the growth, because, you guys, as we grow, you guys will grow with us, and it's going to be a lot more in store, a lot of great things in store for us. So,
I can't wait to check us out. Origin story, because man, when I tell you, growing up in the 90s, we got some stories, and I don't know if we eventually get into the Patreon world or what we do. But man, when I tell you them stories are worth hearing, that those memories that I've made with these two brothers right here, that's worth listening to.
Yeah, believe me when I say you had to be there. you had to be there.
Literal movies.
But we're going to bring you there.
And we'll bring you those stories.
They're on the way. They'll be on the way.
The adventures of three young men coming up in the streets of Los Angeles. But you can find us. We are available on YouTube. Round of applause for us. We are at YouTube at Supreme Court Basketball. Do not forget the @ because it'll take you to another Supreme Court that has nothing to do with us or basketball at all. Also at our website, the Supreme Court Basketball.buzzsprout.com. Again, that's the Supreme Court Basketball.buzzsprout.com. And any and everywhere else you get your podcast from, Apple Music, Spotify, and the likes. Just search for the Supreme Court Basketball. Should be pretty easy to find us. If we don't come up, you looking somewhere you shouldn't be.
Sounds about right.
Please like and subscribe.
Oh, definitely.
Please.
Definitely.
And be with us next week.
Yeah.
We
Hey,
gonna
man.
keep this thing going.
And again,
Check us out, man.
I cannot reiterate this enough. We would appreciate the love offerings. I ain't gonna lie.
Hey. We like the quiet money,
You know?
man. Go and trip a few.
Even if it just buys us a
Hey,
pack of
man,
beef
follow
jerky,
it
you know what I'm
water
saying?
alone, you know what I'm saying?
It ain't got to be much. Yeah.
That's like,
Doors
oh,
of the
that's
pod are now
somewhere.
open, as they say, right?
Yes.
All right. Well, another good episode. We will see you next week on Supreme Court Basketball Podcast. Rock with us. We'll be here. You should too.
We out.
We out.
We out. Dun, 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 dun. Doom, ba, doom, 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 doom.